And they're very well educated. Very, very good. Thanks for, and we'll talk again, okay? Good.
Go ahead and call the regular board meeting of Tuesday, September the 13th, 2011 to order. And we're going to start with the invocation by Vice Mayor Barnhill, and I'll follow by leading the Pledge of Allegiance. So if we could stand.
Would you bow and pray with me? Heavenly Father, we come to you in prayer tonight, thanking you for this truly great nation, for the weekend that we just had, where we look back on the tragedy of 9/11 and know that there were the moments of silence and certainly the moments of sadness as we went back and visited what happened to us 10 years ago. We ask that you be with those families who suffered the tragedies and whose families, whose loved ones they lost. But we also ask that you be with each of us here in the city of Franklin. We know that there are many of us who are suffering without jobs and without other maybe medical benefits and maybe even some medical hardships. We ask that you be with those of us that only you can provide the spiritual guidance that we need. And we also ask that you be with each of us tonight as we make decisions that ultimately affect the direction in which the city is going. Give us spiritual wisdom and guidance. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 4 is grievances or statements from citizens. These are to make comments about items that are not on the agenda. If you step to the podium and tell us who you are and...
Yes, I'm Mark McLaren. I live down 1129 West Main Street. It's in that old condo complex. Been down there about 30 years. But the reason I'm coming to the meeting is we had a fatality wreck down there about a week and a half ago on West Main Street. This motorcycle was going down West Main Street, and I understand I didn't see him. He was going pretty fast. But he ran into the side of a lady that's coming out on 11th Street. She's turning left on 11th Street. He ran in her side and was killed. I don't know if I heard anything about this or not. Probably didn't. But anyway, a guy that lives across the street tells me that he's lived down there 20 years, and he's tried to get something done about that 11th Street, them turning left on 11th Street onto West Main Street, which in that way they'd be going east. Well, I said, well, if you've been trying to do this for 20 years, you think they're paying attention to me? But I'll go down and see. I don't know if anybody's heard about this or not, but there needs to be something done about them turning left on Main Street off 11th Street. And I don't know why that makes a lot of sense to me. It's logical to me. So I don't know if have you had any dealings with that at all? You know anything about that?
What we'll do is pass this information on to staff since you've made the comment, and we'll investigate and try to come up with an appropriate answer.
And we have studied this just in the last year. We looked at this intersection in particular, talked about it in the Capital Investment Committee, so we can revisit what we've done. But we've done some study of that and some options related to that intersection just recently. So I'm not familiar with the details of the accident you referred to, but we have been studying that intersection for some time, and we can revisit that information as well.
Well, I'm sure you can get the report from the policeman. There's several policemen down there that investigate this wreck. And I know she started out with a prayer. That's so Southern-like. And maybe that would help if you got a lady told me across the street, says, I think what's going to help this country, change the country, is prayer. And I said, yeah, let's get everybody together. Let's get everybody together and get them down on their knees and pray, and we won't have any problems since then. Thank you.
If you could leave your phone number, please, sir. Thank you. Next is communications from Williamson County Mayor and Williamson County Commission. I see no one here. Next, we'll consider approval of minutes for August the 9th, 2011 work session, August the 9th, 2011 Board of Mayor and Aldermen, August 23rd, 2011 work session, and August 23rd, 2011 Board of Mayor and Aldermen. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you, Vice Mayor Barnhill, for your invocation tonight and for remembering 9/11 and the memorial services that did occur over the weekend. And in our meeting prior to this, we again thought that it would be appropriate as a board and as a community gathered here tonight that we pause just again for a brief moment of recollection and remembrance of that day. So we could just take a quiet moment. Thank you. Next is recognitions of Eric Gardner. Eric is the recipient of the 2011 Young Engineer of the Year Award for the state of Tennessee and by the Tennessee Society of Professional Engineers. So congratulations. We appreciate what you do. We appreciate what you do, and thank you. Any miscellaneous reports? Yes, Alderman Skinner.
It's not about the roundtable. This is about Celebration of Nations that the Sister Cities is scheduled September 17th on O'More College of Design at 423 South Margin in Franklin to hold their Celebrations of Nations. Nick Peranje from WZTZ Fox 17 will kick off the festivities on the main stage. It'll be from 4 until 9 p.m. There are 2 performance stages featuring more than a dozen different performers. The City of Franklin, Embassy Suites, Factory of Franklin are currently exploring relationships with Germany, China, Japan, and France. Some of the groups that are eligible or are scheduled to participate is the Bob Tiak Flamenco Guitar, Bill Kagi, Christian artist, Bria Lawson, that's actually from Carlton Place, our sister city in Canada, and the Scott Ella School of Irish Dance will also be there, to name only a few. So come out, it's a good time, it's a nice little friendly neighborhood setting, so I think people will enjoy it. It is September the 17th from 4 to 9 p.m. at O'More College.
Any other reports? Seeing none, we'll move on to consent agenda. All items under the consent agenda are deemed to be non-controversial and routine in nature by the governing body. They will be approved as recommended by committee or staff by one motion of the governing body. We're considering numbers 16 through 28. Is there a motion?
I'd like to remove 17 just for comment.
Is there a motion to approve after removal of item 17?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Appropriate motion second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. New business, consideration of Resolution 2011-32, the estimate of revenues and expenditures for the Water and Sewer Utility Fund fiscal year 2011 and 12 and fiscal year 2012 and 13. Is there a motion?
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Appropriate motion second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, passes unanimously. Number 11, consideration of Resolution 2011-33, a 5-year financial plan for the Water, Sewer, and Reclaimed Water Utility Fund, fiscal year 2012 through 13 through fiscal year 2016 and 17. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Appropriate
Second.
motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposition, passes unanimously. Next is number 12, consideration of Resolution 2011-40, a resolution to adopt fire service automatic aid agreement between the City of Franklin and Williamson County Rescue Squad. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Appropriate motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Peterson. Any discussion? Alderman Berger?
Yeah, I just want to say this is for 6 months, correct?
Correct.
All right.
That's what the agreement
Only
says.
Just want to
So far.
state that.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Number 13, consideration of Resolution 2011-44, a resolution to rescind the balance of previously authorized bond issue. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Appropriate motion? And an appropriate second from Alderman Skinner. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Number 14, consideration of interlocal agreement between the City of Franklin, Tennessee and Williamson County, Tennessee for collection of sewer, pipeline assessment, Metagreen, City of Franklin contract 2011-112. Is there a motion to withdraw?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there appropriate motion to withdraw this from consideration? An appropriate second. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, just to clarify, this has been requested by the county. Originally, we thought we would do the billing on behalf of the county for the sewer assessment in Meadow Green. They've chosen to go ahead and do that billing directly, so that makes this not necessary.
Correct.
It's a
Very good.
removal completely. It's indefinite. I mean,
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, passes unanimously. Number 15, consideration of the agreement between the city and the Harpeth River Watershed Association for the restoration of a portion of the Harpeth River in the general area of River Mile 88.9. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Appropriate motion, second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, passes.
No, I didn't oppose. I was just, I missed the comment here.
You wanted to comment?
We've already had the recognitions and the miscellaneous reports, Alderman. So it passes unanimously. Next is number 17, consideration of ordinance 2011-29, an ordinance to amend the Title 22, Chapter 18, to establish new water rates and sanitary sewer user rates. Is there a motion?
move for approval.
Appropriate
Second.
motion, and was there a second that I missed?
Second.
Who made the motion?
I make motion.
Earl.
Okay, any discussion?
Yeah, I had it removed. I just had a call from, well, there was 2 calls, actually. And the only thing they were saying was I guess the flyer in the mail and the fact that we've had the health issue here and some of the smell issues that we've had. And they're not, I don't think they were objecting to the rate increase, even though it may adversely affect some of the lower water users rather than the higher water users. But they were just asking that they be heard and that they have an opportunity to say that, if we're going to continue to raise the rates, that we need to continue to make sure that we give as higher quality water and services we can possibly give. And I think that was their comment, that was their concern, and that's what they asked me to express.
And I want to second that, because that's one of the things I hear out there in the community as well, is that because there was a mail-in in our mail-in from the water department, that there were concerns, so that alerted people, and then the next few months we are talking about a water rate hike. So once again, to echo Alderman Barnhill, is that we need to make sure as a group that we are giving good quality water to our citizens, because, I drink the water as well.
Alderman Berger.
I think it might be good for Mark or Eric, someone to say, because lots of people watch our meetings, and to say why we're raising rates, and they're incremental.
I think that's a good
They're
comment.
incremental over a number of years, because I've had comments like, you're raising my rates.
Well, let me say a couple things about that. First of all, the rates are set based on the cost that it takes us to run the operation. Water and wastewater are both independent utility businesses that the city operates. They aren't subsidized, cannot be subsidized by taxpayer dollars. So we have to identify the costs it takes to run that service and spread that across the ratepayers as fairly, as equally as we can, based on those needs. We do a sophisticated study of the cost of service to help identify how to best spread that cost and come up with the most appropriate rate structure that we can. And this board has worked to try to identify a way to get to match those costs over a longer period of time, to make those rate adjustments as manageable as we can over a 5-year period of time, and that's essentially the plan we're working on. And so, we have to meet our responsibilities to pay for the operation and to provide the water, and this is what those rates reflect. We do have a significant impact fee structure and ordinance that helps provide for development to pay its way in terms of when they tap in and when they get into the water system. And we use those revenues to help pay for projects, to help pay for debt service that's related to those projects, and appropriately assign the cost to existing ratepayers as well as developers and future ratepayers, essentially, as they come into and onto the system, both in terms of the distribution and collection systems, as well as the capacity that is built in and developed at our wastewater plant and our water treatment plant. So those are all part of what we do to meet those obligations and to make those rates appropriate. We don't just look at that cost of service, though. We also look at where we are in the region in terms of the cost of the services that we provide, and are they competitive. And in both water and wastewater, we are below the average cost in this region for both a low rate of usage, that initial 1,000 gallons, as well as what a typical user uses in a month, which is somewhere between 6,000 and 7,000 gallons. So those collectively, we continue to be below those averages, and we look at that too, so that we're not just, we meet our costs, but we also stay competitive within the region and within what other customers experience. So I think that's important to note, that we look at it as comprehensively as we can when we look at the rate structure, the rate adjustments, and what we do. And this board spends a lot of time painstakingly going through what's the right thing to do, and that's what we especially did a year ago in coming up with the plan that we're implementing again this year. The other thing I want to comment about is that the notification that happened in terms of the threshold on disinfection byproducts. We did have to send a notice out. We had exceeded the standard that was in place by about 1 to 2 parts per billion. And since we had exceeded that on a 12-month rolling average, we needed to send that notification out to our customers, and we did that. We have done the most recent quarter's measurements, and those have come in well below those standards and have essentially brought us below those thresholds in terms of what's required of us. So there won't be another notice this quarter because we're completely in compliance. One of the unique elements that happened in this last 12-month cycle was that we had a period of time where our raw water reservoir was offline, and we had water that was in the system longer, that was only coming from Harpeth Valley. And one of the factors that contributes to the levels of disinfection byproducts is the amount of time water spends in the system. And because we weren't able to treat water last summer, that is a contributing factor. That quarter has now dropped off, replaced with the current quarter that we just took measurements on in the last month.
About a month and a half.
Somewhere in that month and a half time period. And again, those numbers are, in that quarter in particular, well below those standards. And collectively, the 12-month measures are in compliance. So, we take seriously our responsibility and hear what you said today about providing the best quality water that we can, and we work very, very hard every day. Mark and his crew do. We have made significant improvements in the reliability of our system. We weathered the storm of not having a water reservoir last summer in a dry summer and didn't have water restrictions. Our quality, we continue to monitor and try to do the very best we can, and have improved in our sanitary scores as well, scoring near 100. So there are improvements made. Are we where we want to be yet? No, we want to continue to improve, and we take that very seriously.
Alderman Skinner.
Thank you.
I also received numerous complaints about water quality during our hot period where we had odor in the water. It seemed to be particularly concentrated in Fourth Ward, in Third Ward, I'm sorry. Some of the suggestions were, well, we should get a refund on part of our water rate because this wasn't usable water. And once I explained to them that, the cost of the water was what it cost us for the year, and any adjustments on what our revenue was would have to be made up in the next year. I think that sunk in for the people that I explained it to. But I do think there is a sense that we need to work on our water quality issue. We need to find some solutions that we're just not exposed to the vagary of heat and drought and not being able to deliver a premium quality water. And people expect that. So I would hope that we would explore avenues that are possible to look at these scenarios.
Well, and the algae issue that was experienced across the region, across the country in this area, that many water systems experienced it. We experienced it as well. That doesn't mean we don't continue to look at ways and options to try to address it, but there's not one simple, easy way to solve it, or we would have, and the countless other water systems across the region would have done the same thing. We all experienced it to varying degrees. Areas that have more dead-end lines tend to experience that more than others. One of the things we've worked on, too, is looking at how we try to address those through what we do in flushing out lines on a regular basis. We're looking at what we do in the treatment process, as well as are there things that we can do to help at least control this kind of seasonal algae that can happen and occur. And it was particularly bad this year because of weather conditions, because of some other things that happened in the broader regional system. And so we're going to continue to keep an eye on those and do what we can. Mark and his team have worked up some other things that we're going to continue to look at that we think may help us, and tried to go to school on what some other systems have tried to do with varying degrees of success to see if they might be helpful to us too.
Alderman Norton.
I appreciate Bev's asking Eric to explain that, and you did it very eloquently. I am accustomed to explaining things to second and third graders. So for the people that did not get everything you said, I want to say two things. The city does not make money on the water and sewer collections. We do not make money. The city does not pay for private development with water and sewer. I just want to make those two points, because that seems to sort of skip over people's minds, and they don't always hear that. But if that's not clear, I can say it again. But surely, they'll understand that. Thank you.
They can rerun the tape. Alderman Peterson.
I also want to acknowledge comments that I received about the increase in the price, and also specifically on the smell, and it was more pronounced in some areas of the city than in others.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. I'll now consider a motion to go into executive session. Is there a motion?
So move.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor, go to executive session. Oh, I've got that one to read.
You're always reading.
Okay. Yeah, I saw that.
What are you reading? What's
The Economist.
The Economist? Yeah.
Special section on the future of work, talking about
Future of what?
14 pages on jobs.
Oh. Yeah.
We're back from executive session, and were there any matters in executive session that need to be considered at this time?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Alderman Skinner.
I move that we accept the settlement offer in the Hood case.
Appropriate motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposition? Passes unanimously. Is there a motion to dismiss?
Motion.
Yes.
Adjourn.
Adjourn.
You know, it's late.
Name it.
All in favor, say aye.
Okay,
Who seconded the motion? Margaret Martin seconded the motion.
Margaret, put it down, that's all right.
it was Carl.
You seconded it.